You find me in my home office today and I'm just reviewing some of the footage that I've captured with this, the DJI Mini 3 Pro drone. And I'm really interested to see what you guys make of the footage. The reason for that is because I've traded in my old drone to buy this one. And my old drone is the DJI Mavic 2 Pro, the one with the Hasselblad camera and the 1-inch type sensor that's capable of capturing 10-bit color depth and footage that's really nice and usable in professional applications. But what I found is that I wasn't using the drone very much. I had a couple of commercial projects with it, but otherwise I haven't needed it that much. My channel is predominantly tech and I don't need a drone to film computers at the end of the day. But I have recently started a motorcycle channel and I wanted something lightweight that I could take around with me. As you can see, this little drone is 249 grams. So that's quite important, not just for portability, but because it puts it into a different category, which means I don't have to register as a drone pilot and I've got a bit more freedom in where I fly it. But have I made the right choice? Is there any chance that the tiny sensor in this camera is going to be able to deliver anything like the same kind of footage that you get from a Mavic 2 Pro? Well, let's take a look at some footage I've captured and you guys be the judge. This first clip that we're looking at is shot at 2.7K, 30 frames per second, it's 8-bit H.264. And it looks okay. Challenging time of day, the sun has blown out there. I just want to show you this photograph that I took. So this is a raw photo that I've then edited in Lightroom, and I think it shows the capability of the drone, even though it's only a 12 megapixel photo. You can see there's a little bit of noise where I've raised up the shadows, but overall I think it's a very pleasing image on an interesting day. Here we've got basically the same scene. I've just applied a very basic grade to it in order to try and pull down some of the highlights and lift the shadows. I think it looks okay. For this clip I got the drone to follow me. You can sort of set yourself as a target and the drone will follow you. And again, we're towards the end of the day, the sun's setting, it's fairly dark, but as you can see, when we apply a grade we can lift up the shadows quite nicely, and I think the detail is pretty good. Even when you zoom in, I think it looks okay. There's not a huge amount of noise there. This is definitely usable. I've just left the drone on auto exposure for these clips, and obviously if you manually exposed it you could get a much better result. So sticking with 2.7K, 30 frames per second and 8-bit, here we've got the Pyrenees in France. So we're in the low Pyrenees here. It was a very bright, quite a warm day in October, and I think the drone has done a really excellent job of capturing this scene. The colours look good. I haven't graded this at all. Colours look good, contrast looks good to me, detail looks good. I'm pretty impressed with this footage actually. Here I was taking a walk with my family. Again, I'm using the drone on the follow mode just to follow us along. I think this image is a little bit cold considering how hot it is. So let's just do a little grade, adjust the white balance a bit, and I think that looks a lot better. And that footage is really standing up well to being graded. I'm still in France here, and again I think the white balance is ever so slightly off. The mountains in the background look a bit hazy and blue. Let's actually try a filmic look with this one. You see here we can actually bring up the details in the mountains in the background, give it that nice filmic look. Even though this is 8-bit footage, I think this looks really good, and yeah, of course you could use that in a professional application. Let's come back to the UK now. This is Dunster Castle in Somerset. And we're now shooting at 4K in 60 frames per second, and notice that this is 10-bit footage. Now when I bought the drone I also went for this remote control unit. The one that I had previously used to have to attach your mobile phone to it, and I found that all a bit fiddly. Whereas this, it's basically an Android device and you've got the screen built in, high resolution screen so you can see what the drone's doing. It's fantastic and it makes things much faster as well. Now, if we go into the settings on the remote control, you can see the different options that we've got for recording video. So we can choose to have an MP4 container or a QuickTime container. We can choose to have the H.264 codec or H.265. And we can choose to have a normal color profile or D-Cine-like. And when you select D-Cine-like, you get 10-bit color depth. H.265 is a codec that a lot of computers are going to really struggle with. I'm using Apple's M1 Max Studio for this, and it absolutely flies through H.265 footage. And any of the M1 based Macs or even the M2 Mac will absolutely fly through H.265 content. So let's take a closer look at the footage. Now, I should also state that this is 60 frames per second, and when you shoot at 60 frames per second on this drone, you can't have the highest possible quality. Next, I just rotated the drone around to get it to point directly at the sun. I know we wouldn't normally do that. If you're filming something, you'd probably avoid doing that, but I was interested to see how it would cope, and also interested to see what we might be able to bring back out of the shadows. And as you can see, we have managed to get a little bit more detail in the scene, but at the cost of quite a lot of noise. So I would say this footage is fairly unusable as it is. So let's instead flick it into 30 frames per second now so we can get that higher quality. And I haven't graded this. This is just the D-Cine profile, which is a little bit flatter. So let's apply a grade to it, get some contrast and color in there. And I think that looks really rather nice. And the detail is pretty sharp as well. If we punch in, obviously we're zoomed well beyond the native resolution here, but all of that looks pretty good to me for such a small sensor on such a bright day as well. And we've lifted the shadow slightly on the left-hand side of the frame. I think it looks okay. Interested to find out what you guys think about it. Next, I just tried the drone handheld to capture this scene of the bridge. Again, you've got bright sunlight, it's backlit, and we've got dark shadows. So let's just try lifting up those shadows on the bridge. And we can find some detail. It is quite noisy. I haven't applied any noise reduction here in post. It's possible that we could actually get that to look a little bit better. Here again, I'm using the camera handheld to just capture this beautiful old water wheel. The footage looks pretty good. I've applied a gentle grade to this. I've just upped the contrast a little bit, pulled up the shadows ever so slightly and given it a bit more color. Now we move inside to look at these gears, and remarkably low levels of noise, I think, in this particular image. And finally, I used the drone handheld as I took a walk around the castle just to see what the stabilization was like. And again, I've applied a light grade to this just to brighten up the scene and add a bit more color and contrast. The stabilization is not rock solid like you'd get from a gimbal or an action cam, but it's quite a natural look to it. So there's my footage from the DJI Mini 3 Pro. As you can see, I've used it precisely 3 times so far to capture footage. So I've got a lot more testing to do with this device. But interested to see what you think about the quality of the footage. Do you think some of that footage could be used in professional applications? It's more than good enough for what I want it for, which is filming my motorcycle rides and putting those things on YouTube. So I'll be doing that later on this year when the weather finally turns. And now if you do want to buy one of these, I put some links in the description. You can help support the channel if you click on those links. Even if you're not looking to buy a drone, if you need anything from Amazon, you click on the link, we get a small referral commission, and really appreciate that help. And of course, all of your subs and your likes, your dislikes, your shares, and most of all your comments. Really love talking to you guys in the comments section. Now, something to consider when you do buy one of these drones is to get the Fly More pack. Now, if you do that, you get, first of all, you get this nice bag here, which doesn't look big enough, but I can assure you it is big enough to take the drone and the controller here. And I would suggest that you do go for this as an upgrade. There is a simpler controller you can buy, but I think this is worth the extra money. And also with the Fly More kit, you get 2 extra batteries and this nice charging caddy to put them in. So you can fit 3 batteries in here, charges via USB-C, and also this USB-A port here on the side of the case allows you to charge other devices using these batteries as well. So if you get to the end of the day and you finish flying your drone and you've got a bit of battery life left, but you need to top up your mobile phone, well, this will help you do that. So the Fly More kit is worth having. And I think you also get a spare set of rotor blades. Now, I will say these are quite fragile on this drone compared to a larger drone like the Mavic 2 Pro, which of course is heavier, so it needs a stronger propeller. And they're also not as easy to remove. If you can see, they're actually screwed onto the motor, unlike the ones on the Mavic, which you can just take off, twist off. So it's definitely worth having a spare set of those anyway, and you get that with the Fly More kit. So overall, I'm really happy with the drone. Yes, it doesn't have all of the features of the Big Brother Mavic drones, but it has enough of the right features, and the image quality is absolutely excellent. The size, this thing folds up so small. It's such a neat device. Fold it up like that, you can fit it in your pocket, you can take it anywhere with you. Absolutely fantastic. Well done, DJI. Please let me know what you think of the footage, and if you'd like to see more content like this on the channel, please consider subscribing. And I'll see you again soon for some more geekery.